Welcome to another video. Today we're going to continue with the interior swap out of the green truck. We're going to work on sound deadening the floor in here, the back wall, and the roof while we have everything out. At the same time, once this is done, I'm going to start working on these wires, cleaning them up. Had to track a few of them like this one that are just taped off, so this is a good ground, so I'm going to pop that back through. But it's a good idea while you have your floor and your trim and everything out. You can go through the wiring, make sure there's nothing that's going to end up shorting out. All right, the tools for this project are pretty simple. All they had are these beautiful white, they're rubber at least, but all they had are these white gloves. I guess there's still a glove shortage going on. You need a roller to roll out the little diamond pattern so that way it sticks to the floor. You need a utility knife to cut, Sharpie to draw, scissors if you need to cut more fine detail, and also for the tape. Tape is for covering areas like what you can see here. Whenever you have to go around a really sharp curve or you have to stretch over a rounded bit, sometimes the aluminum is going to tear, and if it does, it's just better to go back over it with this. Otherwise you're going to have that sticky goo coming up through and sticking to your carpet or really anything else. So it just looks more finished to have this on it. I don't know if there's actually a purpose to putting it on there other than having it more finished, but I put it on there because it looks nice and I don't like sticky crap. So let's get started. Alright, so installing any sound deadener is pretty much the same thing, as long as it's this type, the sticky back type. To start off, you got to make sure you have a clean surface. So, like usual, I use Windex or acetone for almost everything. Just gonna go over anything that's dirty on here. I've already done the whole floor. Just got to do a little bit of the back wall here, and this. Anything that's on here is going to be stuck underneath here. So if it's little bits of dirt, not really an important thing. If it's a bunch of dust and garbage on here, it could affect the sticky backing on here, holding down to the actual metal. So you want to get it as clean as you can, vacuum it out, blow it out, whatever. Now, I live in Florida, so no matter how cold it is, it's hot. So I just take all of the sound deadener sheets, I open up one box and I throw them in the truck facing the sun, so this way they'll become heated, which once you peel them, it's basically like bubble gum underneath. It goes to the floor really easy. You don't really even have to push on the roller. You can just go over it to get the pattern to disappear, and it's super simple. If you do it while these are cold, it takes a little bit more elbow grease, but once they're warmed up, it's really simple and fast to install. So those should be warm in a minute or two. We're going to start with this piece, which has already been sitting out on my concrete for a while. Right here. So this stuff is ridiculously sticky, so try and get it on the place you want it to be the first try, because it's not coming back off. And if it is, it's going to be a hassle and a sticky mess. Hence the gloves. As you can see, this is not the first car I did, so this is going to turn black. Your hands are going to turn just as black with the gooey mess. So at least get one of these on here. Now you want to get all your wires up and out of the way. Make sure there's no water or anything on the floor. This is basically where we want it to be. So like I said, we're going to pull the wires up and over. And the first part we're going to lay down is this back piece here. So to do that, we're going to find this little screw, and I'm going to just push against it like that. And that's where it's going to end up being. So peel it halfway back, or at least enough to get past the bottom so you can pull. Get this right back. We're also doing the back wall, so if it rides up a tiny bit, not a huge deal, because we're covering this as well. So with your hands, just kind of make the creases and the seams go into place. Now in a place like this, it very well may rip or tear, so you would just go over it with another layer. If it's just a tear, you can use the tape that I showed you before. So like I said, it's going to tear there. So you don't need 100% coverage with this stuff. I just liked it because I think it looks cool all silver. The whole point of this, in case I didn't mention it already, is this has a 3-inch exhaust from the front to the back already, and it dumps out right behind here. So the cabin drone in here, just the way it is with the 305, is ridiculous. So definitely want to do this before I get the interior back in, because once I do the engine swap, it's going to be even worse, but it's loud as it is. So as you can see, you got a little tear here. You are not being judged on your prettiness here. It just needs to cover, and preferably without lumps, so it doesn't show through the carpet. That's really all you gotta do. Now, here's the reason why I like to leave the goo where it was for your seats. It's pretty simple to just go like this, and here's your hole for your bolt. You don't have to go crazy, you don't even need to go into the car. See? So you definitely want the material sticking down to the floor. So even if it tears through like so, that's what you want to do, because you don't want it floating and have a pocket of air behind it. I believe that changes the effectiveness of the product. So it has to be directly mounted to the surface. So this one, we're here already. Pop a screwdriver through and just run it around. So before we put our bolts back in as placeholders, we take our roller, and you don't have to go crazy. You just need to flatten out the diamond pattern here. Once you've flattened out the diamond pattern, the adhesive should be really stuck to the metal underneath. So at that point, you can go and put this back in here. So we're gonna just flatten this out. Hopefully this isn't shaking too bad up here. So there are going to be areas where you can't get to with the roller, and you can use this tip right here. Works perfectly. Same thing with the creases. You just run the back of the roller along all of your creases, like so. Make sure everything, all the adhesive is stuck to what's underneath it. So, as far as jobs go, once again, this is a pretty simple one. Just time consuming. You will know you're good to move on when you go from a diamond pattern like this to a flat pattern like this. Once this is done, this stuff is stuck down and you keep moving forward. We'll deal with all these sticky bits after the fact. This is a big enough one here that I'm probably just going to cut another strip. And what I do is, anytime I get to corners and whatnot and I have to cut things off, I just save them. So I've got tons of little scraps like this. There, so it's not so much glare. I'll cut a piece that fits here and roll that right back over there. So, but I'll do that when I'm done. Once again, once we get our piece down wherever there are bolts, I then put everything back to where it was. It's just easier for me to keep track of them that way because I have way too many nuts and bolts in my garage right now. So for me, this keeps it simple. And then I'll lift up these wires because you don't want to run over it with this. Screw right over these. See, there's little bubbles in here, so go around with the back part here, and there's still a bubble there. So what you want to do when you get to something like that is take your knife, cut the center of the bubble, just make sure there's no wires, push down one of the sides, and then flatten it out to get rid of that air pocket. Then take the back of your roller again and go back over it. There we go. Now there's no air pocket in there. We just keep going, working our way forward or backwards, wherever you want to start. For me, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just easier to start here so I can get a good shot of it for you. Again, anywhere where there's a ridge, go around it with this. Now you are going to be in some uncomfortable positions for a while, so get a piece of foam or something that you can sit on the floor in here. Otherwise your knees are going to hate you the next day or a few hours later. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's different. I don't think it ever bothered me when I was younger. Not that I'm old, but it bothers me now. So deal with it. So this does not need to be perfect. As long as it's stuck down, no one is ever going to see it, and it will do its job. So don't go crazy. Just make sure it's flattened out so it's sticking to the material underneath it. In a hot climate like Florida, not really hard to do because it's already melted once you put it in the car. Maybe in a colder climate, it might be a little more different or difficult. Now there is probably a group of people out there who will tell you that you can only put strips down and whatnot, and that's 100% true. You don't need 100% coverage of this stuff. You can just put strips in certain areas. I believe there's like a percentage that has to be covered for it to be effective. Like I said, me personally, I just like the look of it completely covered in the silver stuff, and I had the extra. Does it cost a couple dollars more? Sure. Is it wasteful? Possibly. It depends on how you look at it, but this is my truck, this is how I like it, and this is how I'm doing it. If you want to do yours, you know, follow the instructions perfectly, then yes, you probably just need a percentage to be covered, and you could do less work and call it a day, and you will be happy. So this makes me happy. I hope what you do makes you happy. That's really all that's important. Now, just to clarify my use case stuff, I am not into stereo compositions, loud stereos, or any of that. I used to like having some 15s in the trunk and whatnot to go boom, but nowadays really I'll either do 2 8s or 2 or 1 10 behind the seat, maybe even 2 6x9s in a 10. I really just want better music in the cab. I'm not looking to go any more deaf than I already am, but for me, this is to get out the road noise. I've done this more than once, and it removes the sound between this and the rubber pad that goes over it. If you get the proper rubber underlining on your carpets, if you don't have the rubber underlining on your carpets and it's an older car, you're going to want to add in that rubber lining that goes, I think it's a butyl mat or a rubber mat or something like this. Maybe this is the butyl stuff, but basically I put this down, and then there's rubber that goes on top of this, and then you have your carpet. My carpet happens to have it molded to the bottom, and that makes it very quiet, like a Cadillac or a Lexus, because really I just want a quiet ride so I can talk on my phone while I'm driving. That's really the purpose in this. I mean, maybe it's better or different to do it a different way, to each his own. I'm not a stereo competition person, so I'm sure one of those would be better off being asked as far as this stuff goes. For me, I do it this way. I did it this way. It may cost me an extra $50. Not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. It's nice and quiet. I know it works, so I'm doing what I know that I've done works in the past, and we'll move forward. As far as learning, if you have something to teach and you can show me a different or a better way of doing it, maybe on the next time I'll do it differently. I'll be happy to listen and try new things out. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is what I do. It's what's worked for me, and it's what works for listening to your telephone or some decent music while you're driving on the highway 70, 80 miles an hour with a decent exhaust. And with that being said, let's keep moving forward. All right. So this will be my view for the next, I don't know, 30 minutes. Not the most comfortable position in the world, but let's get started. we're down to the last piece about to go in. That's more than enough on the roof. Back wall is covered. As you can see, I left the slots for any of the little metal tabs. Floor is completely covered. No real areas of big sticky mess. So as you can see, this stuff goes a pretty long way. I still have 3 full sheets left. I need about 1/4 of a sheet, almost a half a sheet, to do what's left over there. And the rest of it I'm going to use behind the doors to clear that up. I may even get another box because I believe it's 2.5 sheets per door. Always keep whatever cutoffs you have. As you saw, I used them multiple times. I don't put stickers anywhere on my cars, even though it gives you, I think, like 100 extra horsepower if you put a sticker on your car somewhere. Not my thing. So as you can see, the whole truck has had the Noico sound deadener applied. I've got the floor all the way up to the firewall, straight into the sides, the whole back panel covered, and all of the roof. That should give me what I'm looking for, in addition to the thickness of the rubber mat that goes under the carpet. It'll be much better than what it is now because I have a really loud exhaust underneath here, and when I upgrade the engine it's going to be even louder. So the plan is to take the door panels back off and sound deaden the doors after I have redone the poppers, because I don't want to be tearing that stuff in and out. It makes a huge mess. Every single video gets closer and closer to getting the color change on this car, which is exciting. Since I had to take the headliner out anyways, as you can see, taking it out, it's already pretty much falling apart. So instead of just spraying this, which is, it's like a velvet material, instead of just spraying this black with the color change, I bought some fleece from Wally World that matches the paint job that I intend on doing on the truck. Along with that, I picked up some high strength 90 from 3M, and I am going to refurbish the headliner to get that cleaned up and going along with the new theme that the truck is going to have. Alright, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing and joining the project. Click like, hit that bell to be notified of my next video, and do me a favor if you have anything, questions, comments, concerns, anything to add to the project, if I'm doing something wrong, if you don't like the way I'm doing it, leave it down below, we can discuss it.